Hi, welcome to Women Talk Construction. We are so excited to be here with a new guest today. But drum roll, please. Brenda Radmacher with Seyfarth is here today, and she is a problem solver, and dispute resolution is one of her key areas of expertise. So I'm going to let her talk a little bit more about herself, but honestly, her bio is so long and all the accomplishments she's had. I really highly recommend, if you're listening today, to make sure and go through her bio on the podcast on our website. Everything will be there. She's had 18 awards and designations that I know of. I'm sure there's probably hundreds more that I don't know of. Amazing human, a big supporter of organizations that are helping women. She's a big supporter of women. She's one of our biggest supporters of Women Talk Construction. She's always right there liking our stuff and sharing it and just encouraging people to listen to our podcast, but because she knows that all these voices really make a difference in the construction industry. So I want to welcome Angela today. My co-host is on today, and I did not get to attend the 4 podcasts prior to this one because we had some family things going on. So I appreciate the audience, and I appreciate Angela and Alex for just stepping in and taking care of that. But I am back, and I'm excited, especially excited to talk to Brenda today. So Angela, hi, how are you doing today?
Hey, Christy. I'm great. And I can't wait
Good.
to hear from our next guest. And we
Yes,
know her personally. We've
we
met
do.
her in DC. Well, that was
Yeah.
the first time I met her in DC. Maybe not
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah. I've known Brenda for a while, and what a blessing she is, like everywhere she goes.
Yes, she is.
The fact that she's a lawyer just doesn't fit her personality. When
No.
you think of the standard lawyer, right, in your mind, Brenda is
Mhm.
way outside that. But she's very good at what she does, and it's very exciting to be able to talk to her today. She's making a big impact on the industry. So welcome, Brenda Radmacher, to Women Talk Constructions podcast. And we can't wait to hear from you today. So tell us just a little
Yeah.
bit about what you do, and then we'll leave the audience to listen and read your bio later.
Well, thank you, Christi and Angela. It's so great to be here with you both. So it's funny because you say that, when you meet me or know me, that I'm not what your stereotypical lawyer is. And I think that's fantastic because we're here to change the narrative on so many different stereotypes and images. And I am a construction lawyer. I have been doing construction law almost my entire career, which is just about 30 years now, which is crazy. That it goes by fast. But I represent contractors, developers, some landowners, a handful of design professionals across the industry. And what people go, what do you do? And it's not like what you see on Lincoln Lawyer or on Ally McBeal or any of the law shows. It's not. I do kind of the gamut of construction law. So that means I handle construction contract negotiation, advice and counsel for clients as they're looking at risk management issues and those types of things, figuring out before they get involved in a project what they need to do. And then during the course of construction, if issues come up, people call me and say, hey, we've had this problem. What do we do? And majority of probably my time is disputes because they take the longest. It's great and easy when everyone's happy and they're negotiating a contract and they want to get along. When things go sideways later on, we have disputes over time. A lot of times it's time and money or time or money. And that's what we end up kind of trying to solve and resolve. And it's interesting because where I think people have this idea of what lawyers do is we come in and sort of fix stuff. And a lot of what we do is we read and we do a lot of stuff that a lot of people could do if they took the time to do it. There's a lot of detail work. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of paperwork. My children tell they say, if you ask them what I do, they say you talk on the phone and you write emails all day. So, and every now and then we go to court and fight it out.
That's so funny. I mean, that is really funny, though. Even to this day, and I haven't been in the role for 6 years, my family still says, you sell 2x4s. No, I do a whole lot more than that, but okay.
I'll take it. Emails and phone calls, just happy to do that.
Yes, yes. So, let's get started on, just finding out what your thoughts are on some things that we thought were really important to ask you today. You've seen firsthand how powerful it is when women work together.
Hmm.
What does that collaboration look like at its best? And how can we cultivate more of it?
So, I think sometimes women tend to stay to themselves
Hmm.
and we kind of hone in and we say, I can do it and I'm going to just pull up my bootstraps and run it and I can do it. And what I've seen when women are really reaching out to each other and finding out ways that they can support each other, we all improve. And
Hmm.
I don't know that just for women, but particularly
Yes.
for women. And, and I've thought a lot about it, like, how do we do it better? And I think each of us have to come at it in our own personal way, but you've got to have a mindset that is first thinking of serving and helping someone
Hmm.
else. That's, I think, the ground part of it. Then, as part of that, figuring out what is something that you can help or support that other person with. And it may not be 20 things. It's, one small thing even really makes a difference. And then not just figuring that out, but acting on it, doing
Yes.
something, taking action. And the biggest thing is, I think the third item for women is you have to ask others to do the same for you.
Yes.
And that's the part that we struggle a lot with, because I don't want to impose upon you and say, will you do something for me? And that's part, the collaboration has to be a two-way street. And we need to ask, I think, for specifics of how can you help me? Because it's easy for people. And I think there is a desire for a lot of women that I meet, particularly in the construction industry, where they want to help each other, but they don't really know. And it seems pretty presumptuous for me to come in and tell you what I think I can do to help you.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do that. But if you tell me, hey, this would be a great thing that I think you could help me with, would you be willing to do that? I think most women are going to do. And so if we start to do those in small ways, I think that makes a sea change for the industry.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Love it. Love it. So when I started out in my family business, I worked there for 18 years, but then throughout my career, for me, dealing with contracts was easy. The problem was when I had to negotiate my own salary opportunities, it was not. But for others, it was so easy. And I just read this book by Adam Grant called Givers and Takers, and he explains why. But I'm excited to hear what your why is to this next question. And that is, what are some key ways women can grow confidence when it comes to negotiations, whether it's contracts, salaries, or even that next big opportunity? How do you suggest them to do that?
I love negotiation and I love talking about it because it's this big mystery, and I'm like, it shouldn't be.
It's not.
Okay. So I do a lot of speaking and writing on negotiation, and I have done a lot of training for women and women's organizations and women's groups within companies, where they've brought me in and said, will you help coach and train folks? I've also been a coach for a couple of women who have come to me and said, I'm going to do this thing and I don't know what to do with negotiation. How do I do it? And as a result of doing that, I think there are a handful of things that everyone can do. Except first is you have to believe you can negotiate. You have to have, again, it's your mindset. So you have to believe, yes, I have the ability to do this. And if you don't feel like you know how, get training. There's a tremendous amount of training. There's books, read, do that. And don't count yourself out. Right. Don't immediately say, oh, I can't, you're basically negotiating against yourself by just discounting what you are able to do. So when you get past that, the next thing is, and I say, you have to plan, you have to prepare, and you have to practice. So 3 Ps of negotiation are all about planning and preparing. And, and I think the thing about it, we think of negotiation as this big event, right? We've shown up and we had a big event, and it may not be. When you're deciding with your family if you're going to go out to dinner and where you're going to go, that's a negotiation. Somebody wants tacos, somebody wants Italian. What are you going to do? You're negotiating. And so I think that's one of the things I tell people is start to think about and practice in your day-to-day life, little things just like everything else. The more you practice, you become stronger and you become more self-confident. And so having the self-confidence is going to really take you a long way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part of preparing and planning is you have to have the information. And so information is power. And if you can prepare yourself, so if you're going in to negotiate a salary, you've got to know what's the market rate. You've got to know what you bring to the table and why you're asking. And you've got to understand the business and the current situation of the business to know maybe there's not a money in the budget, or like, it's August, it's the end of the year. I probably shouldn't go ask for a raise right now, but I know my review is going to be in January. So in December, I'm going to plan and put together a package and present it. So thinking through how you're doing it and being ready for it. Now, the other part that people forget is a lot of times we get sort of ambushed in a negotiation where you weren't expecting. And that's where people say, but I can't prepare. I can't plan for that. And that's where you've got to be thinking about what you want. And when a situation arises, that you're prepared enough to then work with it. And that's why that practice daily helps. And the final thing I tell people is get a mentor, get a coach, have somebody in your life that you can be bouncing these things off of who can help you with it too.
Excellent tips.
Yes, absolutely. And you're so good at that. And I think one of the things I want to just highlight there, the importance, and this is what I've seen in a lot of the opportunities I've had to I don't call it mentoring. To me, it's just I'm available to women who need questions answered, right? Like some people would call that officially mentoring, but I don't call it that. But I think one of the most important things that we can do when we're teaching or coaching or guiding is to get this next few generations in their head that if you know what you want, prepare for it now. Right. So that when those doors open, you have a plan, like maybe that's not even in your future. I've done that my entire career. I didn't expect to be here today. Right. But I've always aspired to be something or to work somewhere and to do some different role maybe. And so if you've got your mind prepared for it and you've thought about how you'd like to go about it when that door finally cracks open, like you said, randomly, and you're still going to be prepared because your mind's prepared, right? So you need to be thinking forward. And that's one of the things that I tell people a lot. If you want it, you see it, you want to be it, then be thinking how you're going to get there so that when the door opens, you're ready. And I love that you brought that up, Brenda, because that does come up a lot in conversations with younger gals and men and women in the industry, because I think COVID probably changed a lot of that, right? That forward thinking for depending on the age that they were. But it is something that most folks, even when I was in my 20s, I wouldn't have thought of to the degree that I do now, right? Like I know I did it, but it wasn't like methodical. It just happened, but not everybody has that, forward thinking attitude.
Right.
Anyway.
I think 100%. And the only thing I'll add to that is as we grow in our careers and our lives, I think a lot of times we stop doing that. We stop aspiring, we stop thinking ahead. And so that's something that for all of us that I think is important. And having people to use as sounding boards, whether it be like you're saying, a mentor or not, is really helpful. And one of the areas of collaboration, right? It goes back to that first question that you asked me, Angela. And that's an aspect of collaboration, is finding people who are going to support you and who are willing to be your sounding board and listening to you. I think also, even in the negotiation piece, pull a friend around and say, hey, I've got this thing going on.
Yeah.
And what would you think if I said this to you? Would that be persuasive? Right. So that's the kind of things that collaboration actually can really help with too.
Yeah, that's perfect. And you're that for me. I know that I could pick up the phone anytime and ask you, hey, what do you think about this? And you're going to tell me either to jump off a cliff or don't do that. Or yeah, that's a great idea. No, yeah. Don't jump off the cliff. That's a great idea or not. Right. And you need people like that in your life that are willing to tell you the truth. So one of the things that you talk about a lot is building bridges. And because we're in the construction industry, I love that terminology. How have relationships shaped your success and overall happiness in this industry?
So it's always fun to be able to use those play on words, or building bridges and a
Yep.
foundation. And I use it half the time without realizing it. And then people like, did you plan that? I said, no, didn't realize I said it,
Habit.
which is funny. But it's true. And it's a great process for us to think about. We were talking about collaboration, negotiation as foundation. So you don't want to build your structure until you've got a solid foundation.
Yes.
And the same with a bridge, right? Is bridges. But for me, relationships are interesting. I've been fortunate to work in a niche of law, of construction, and the construction legal community is pretty small. Compared to the hundreds of thousands of lawyers in there. And what happens to me is I end up interacting oftentimes a lot with the same lawyers day in and day out. Some days they're aligned with me and other days we're on opposing sides. And what that's done is it really creates a different type of relationship within the legal field. It makes it a little bit more fun, usually a little bit less stressful because you know the people. But what that's done for me is it's over time, and I've just really seen it more in the last several years. Over time, I've developed a reputation, and that relational reputation has really helped me be successful. So if I'm negotiating with somebody on a contract, and I had this happen to me where unbeknownst to me, my client, one of the employees on the other side of the negotiation had been at the company that I represent on another matter. And he knew me and knew what I had done when I had worked with his company. And then he's now at a different place on the other side of a negotiation. And he sent an email and said, "Hey, I'm here. Nice to see you. And, this is Brenda. Whatever she says is probably going to be pretty good," to his boss.
Nice.
So it was a really interesting revelation, for me to see about those relationships you're building with your clients or with people you're working on the adverse side from can make a difference. And I always said it, you never know where people are going to come and be. And so building those relationships really does come full circle on that. And I think the other thing for me about relationships is that I have done a lot to intentionally build relationships. So some of that through some of the different organizations you mentioned. I'm involved in a lot of organizations. I have a hard time saying no, but between several of the different groups, I'm on the board of Women Construction Owners and Executives. I have done a lot of work with NAWIC. I have done work with a bunch of construction organizations for lawyers. So we have the American Bar Association Forum on Construction Law. We have a Society of Construction Law in North America. It goes on, U.S. Green Building Council of California. I mean, I've done a lot with a lot of these groups, but I've really done it. I don't just kind of show up at a conference and leave. I've done it intentionally to develop the relationships with people, because for me, as a construction lawyer and as a lawyer, people are hiring me as a trusted advisor. And how do you trust someone if you don't know them? It's a challenge. So for that, those relationships that I've built, the best source for me of business and client development have been referrals. So when I talk to someone, they say, "Oh, so-and-so told me to call you. I had this issue." It's because of those relationships I've built and establishing who I am and how I work. And so that's been, a huge connection for me for success. And I think it doesn't even matter what type of work, because we're all people and we're all trying to work with people, except for maybe somebody who's a computer programmer and they're working with the computer. Yeah. So, but it's a huge part of people wanting to hire people that they trust and like for whatever it is that you're doing. And so I think that building those bridges, to me, it's maybe even thinking about it I was in Long Beach the other day, and there's a new bridge that was recently built, and it's this massive thing. And you look at it, you're like, well, how did it span? How does they get that span? How do they build it? And you don't just it doesn't just all of a sudden happen. Yeah. It's piece by piece by piece, and there's supports and there's a plan and all of those things. So for me, I think about that as a part of what we're doing. And frankly, doing the work that I do can be really stressful. But if I'm doing it with people I enjoy, working with, it makes all the difference. So it's a both and for me. It's like, hey, I need the relationships, but if I can enjoy the people I'm working with, it makes it a lot more fun.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love the behind the scenes on that first
Mhm.
response because we have not heard that from any of our other construction lawyers. So that was really cool to hear.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we have time for one more question, right,
Yeah,
Christy?
yeah. You wanna go
So,
ahead and ask? I mean,
yeah,
we
I
have
was
a couple, but you pick which one you like the best,
well, I
Angie.
don't know whichever
Mhm.
one. You wanna talk about the few practical things, Brenda, or you wanna talk about work-life balance? Because both of those hit strong with our followers.
Let's do a few practical things
Okay.
because I don't
So
have work-life balance measured in
I don't
I
any
don't
either.
know if
I
we
was
way.
gonna learn a lot from you because I don't either.
I don't know. Just
yeah,
keep going.
that's
Just keep going. Don't
we
slow
keep
down.
learning, right? Yeah. So, what are a few practical things women can do every day to help promote and elevate one another in the workplace? Christy and I are often doing this on social to show. How do
Yeah.
you do it?
So I think it is having a mindset of looking out for each other. Number one,
Mhm.
right? We've got to look out for each other. We have to think about doing it. It can't be just because it came to mind. So if you see someone struggling, if you know offer to help. If you see someone who isn't being recognized, you
Yeah.
know, elevate their voice. If you see someone doing something great, celebrate it. You know
Yes.
that, and social media is a great way to do that. I think one other thing is find ways to hire other women.
Yeah,
Who's
for
who's your
sure.
accountant? Who are your vendors? Who's your subcontractor? Who's your lawyer? You know, there are women who are great in their different roles, and finding them and being thoughtful about that. The other thing I think about is practically we go to conferences a lot. You know, a lot
Mhm.
of people we do
Mhm.
these conferences, and I find if you show up, particularly if you already know people, and you see a woman who's standing there off by herself, go up, introduce yourself, and introduce her to people. So take initiative on behalf of other women when you're at an industry event is a great way to do it. And maybe you make your new best connection. You never know who that is. And then I think finally for really helping promote each and elevate each other in the workplace is get involved in different organizations that are already doing it. Don't try to do it on your own. And you know, there's a whole bunch of different organizations that are elevating the voice and the role of women, and there's tremendous need and opportunity to continue to support that. So I
Yes.
would encourage everyone join a group.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely. Yes.
Love those. Love them. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up today. Can you tell our audience how they can find you, Brenda, or get in touch with you if they have any questions?
Sure. Yeah, definitely don't try to find me by I'm running around, but please, you can. The
You
best
won't be able to
way.
catch up with her.
The best way is you could probably find me on LinkedIn, but the best way is through my firm's website, which is www.seyfarth.com, seyfarth.com.
Which will also be on our website. If you want to go click on that and go
Yes.
directly to the website and reach out to Brenda, please do.
And I pronounced that wrong. It's Seyfarth, not
You know, half
Seyfarth.
of the firm says one, half says the
Okay,
other.
okay, good, good.
Yeah,
You got a half right, Christy.
that's uh,
Yes.
we say just call us. It's
50-50 chance.
okay. Call us either one and just call us, and we're happy to
Oh,
help. But I'm happy to have
Awesome.
people reach out. Please do.
yeah, cool. Well, thank you everyone for joining Women Talk
Yes.
Construction and this wonderful conversation that we just had with Brenda. You know, remember to keep building those bridges and definitely
Mhm.
reflect back on Brenda's tips because this episode is chopped full of tips. And you know, these are conversations we're having that are inspiring, they're
Yeah.
challenging, and they also are offering fresh perspectives. So definitely keep listening in. Don't forget to follow, share, and like. And we will be back soon with more voices from the construction and from women and men of all over. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.